the Lord said, when troubles come, that He didn't ever say that they wouldn't come. He didn't say it was always going to be good times. So when troubles come, Paul says we should rejoice because that gives us time to test our faith. We should rejoice in those times. And sometimes it's a struggle. So lately here I've been going through some tough times, some rough spots. I went to a job and, it wasn't always easy. And the eagle's nest comes to mind. So there's a sermon about the eagle's nest. Whenever baby eagles get put in a nest, the mama lays the eggs in the nest. Daddy sits on them. Mama goes out and hunts. And they lay feathers inside the nest because they want the nest to be as comfortable as possible. And as the birds hatch, the mother and the father have to take care of the baby eagles. So they bring them, fish, tear it apart at first, give them little pieces, and then eventually, bigger fish, and the eagles are eating whole fish, and then they're bringing them salmon. And the eagles go from looking up at the mom and the daddy to looking down, so they have to drop the food while the eagles just tear it apart. And eventually, the mother and the daddy start to look weak and get skinny because they're working so hard to feed these eagles. And at that point, probably right before that point, they start taking all the feathers out of their nest. And they start replacing those feathers with glass shards and wires and little things to poke them and make them uncomfortable. Because at that point, whenever it's tough for them to keep feeding them and it's time for the eagles to move on and get out the nest, they have to make it uncomfortable because nobody wants to leave. Whenever it's good, whenever water's flowing out the well, whenever the land of milk and honey is just abundant, it's super easy. So, at that point, whenever the eagles are sitting on top of the nest, a pile of glass shards and wires, the mama eagle and the daddy eagle will grab them and they'll load them onto their back. And they'll bring them up to cruising altitude and they'll drop them. The baby eagle will try and flap and start to fall and doesn't catch itself. The mom and the daddy swoop in, pick it back up, bring it back up to the top, drop it again. And eventually, that eagle, and we all have that picture in our mind of what an eagle looks like whenever it's soaring through the air, it'll start to fly. And at that point, that eagle can go and build its own nest and be fertile and productive and produce its own baby eagles. And it's got to take care of them in the same fashion. So, that being said, we got to be thankful for the rough times because the Lord might be telling us it's time. He told me it's time. So, it's time to move on to the bigger and better things and rebuild the temple. So, if you ever find yourself struggling through lean times, rough times, you might be in the eagle's nest and it might be time to leave. So, rejoice in those things because that's when faith gets tested. And that's whenever it's time to do God's will. Love and respect, y'all.